Good afternoon, Reverend Sister Shamala, our correspondent, Reverend Sister Amy Grace, our principal, Sisters of Management, and the members of Teaching Fraternity. I am Ashwini, Assistant Professor from the Department of Business Management. In the world today, every student pursuing higher education aims to either build a career in corporate or become an entrepreneur. In order to cater to these needs of learners, there is an immense pressure on teachers in higher education. We as teachers are always in a dilemma as to what method will help us teach a specific concept better. To help us in this regard, today we have Professor Ruma Roy among us. Ma'am, in today's session, will throw some light on innovations in pedagogy in higher education. Ma'am, it is a privilege to have you among us today. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Uh, to talk about our resource person, Professor Ruma Roy is currently associated with St. Anne's College of Education, Secunderabad. Ma'am is an MSc in Organic Chemistry. She has done her MEd, MPhil, and PhD in the field of science education. Ma'am is specialized in physical education pedagogy, educational technology, instructional design, and research methodology. To her credit, Ma'am has authored 2 books, 20 research articles, and has also guided 26 research dissertations at PG level. Welcome, ma'am. I'm sure our audience are eagerly waiting for your session to learn and implement better ways of teaching in higher education. Session is all yours, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm privileged to address this August gathering. My first thanks to Sister Emmy and the congregation of sisters who has always been a great support in my career development. Today's topic, coming directly to it, is a offshoot of the National Education Policy 2020. The National Educational Policy has always envisaged quality in education. It could be at all levels, with respect to school education, with respect to college education and higher education, at both undergraduate and postgraduate level. It's important that we understand that education, the quality of education lies in the hands of the teachers or the faculty. It is for the faculty to innovate their practices in their day-to-day transaction of the curriculum with a difference and with an essence of novelty. Trying to understand what exactly is pedagogical innovation, how it is significant, and how we can actually implement in our classroom transactional processes is what is going to encompass in my presentation today. As I present pedagogical innovations in higher education, it was rightly said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn, as said by Alvin Toffler. It is understood that we need to change, we need to have a very broader perspective as we enter the classrooms. What exactly is pedagogical innovation? It is a significant positive change in enhancing and enriching educational experiences in the classroom. It basically aims at a higher level of outcome that are measurable, and there are a number of factors which involve in it. Trying to understand the factors. The 7 important notions of pedagogical innovations are novelty, change, technopedagogy, reflection, improvement, application, and human relations. Novelty is something that you do with a very strong theoretical base, but it is in a very, very new way. Change, of course, is a way of life. Technopedagogy cannot be removed out of our pedagogy or kept aside in today's world of teaching. Reflection is a way to improve oneself. Only when we reflect, we improve our teaching learning process. Application is the root element of all teaching learning process in today's scenario. Anything without a human relation is not transacted effectively. So what is to be done by the faculty or the teaching fraternity? Be creative, collaborative, courageous to make changes, curious to learn more and learn new things, connect with people to solve problems and to basically understand the changing scenario. At the same time, be compassionate for the students, for the society, for the environment as a whole. Unless we are committed to this, it is very difficult for a teaching faculty to move on. Reflective is reflection on what we are doing, and a continuous improvement actually brings about a wonderful change in an individual every day. Values and ethics form the basis of our teaching. In this scenario, after an understanding of what are the different notions of pedagogy and what a faculty can be, we need to answer a question: how then can we be really innovative in our transacting the classroom concepts? Let us try and understand how the 21st century education or innovative ideas can be brought to our classroom. The first aspect being the exposed lessons. What do we mean by exposed lessons? Lessons that are open, that don't have anything which encompasses them, anything that actually curtails them, or limits them. It needs to be open, it requires no boundaries, and it requires a flexible style of teaching. It's not that the concept ends at a certain point of time as the syllabus or the content is completed. Give it space to open up, give it space. Give it a space to basically continue the process of learning. Only then it is a lifelong learning process. Thinking outside the box. It is basically allowing the learner to think far more than what is inside the four walls of the classroom. With an emphasis on learning styles of the students. We know that the students are divergent thinkers. They may be convergent thinkers. They may be assimilators. So it's important for us to understand that what type of students, what variation of students are existing in our classrooms. And thorough understanding of the learning styles actually give us a way of designing our instructions. Of course, digital expertise becomes a very important aspect in the 21st century. Project-based learning takes the learner to the real-world problems, keeps them closer to that. Give the power to the students. Let them decide in what way they want to learn. Give them or facilitate the learner, not the learning process. Don't limit the learning process. It is basically facilitating them to learn in whatever way they would like to learn. In that scenario, with the backdrop of this aspects, let us understand what should be the components of our classroom like. We need to focus upon the environment of our classroom. Are we giving a very safe and open, a democratic environment for our learners? Are we flexible? Maybe the learner do not is more focused on digital learning as compared to a classroom lecture. Are we having that flexibility to actually allow the learner to learn in any environment they chose to? A simple aspect like seating arrangement can actually make a lot of difference. Technological integration can bring the focus back to the learner. I will be talking about how we are going to go about doing these aspects in the next few slides. Collaborative learning and creative spaces in the institution and in your classrooms becomes very important. It's as simple as one corner or one part of the classroom can be converted into a creative space. You can have a lot of books. The learner may be aware of what you're teaching and would like to know more about it. So, do we give them an immediate space for learning? So, these are the aspects which actually pave way for our instructional design process. I will first talk about the ICT based pedagogical innovations. When I talk of ICT based, the only thing which comes to our mind is a PowerPoint presentation or the computer based applications or computer based lessons. There are a number of aspects, of which four major are the virtual learning environment, the social media tools, the digital professional platforms, and resources to support teaching and learning. Now, when we talk about the virtual learning environment, we are into what is a learning management system. Apart from this, we have the AI tools, the Google Classroom as the management system, which I think many of us are already using. But the main crux of the matter is, are we using the learning management system in the right way? The learning management system needs to contain or needs to understand four major aspects: the learning content management system, the learning delivery system, the learning administration, and the learning record system. Of course, allowing the learner to work with their peer group or the team learning environment. There are a number of platforms through which the learning management system can be used, or we can design a learning management system. For a simple aspect, we start off with a Google Classroom, say. The Google Classroom helps us to share or basically share our content on the platform. Apart from sharing, it has the assessment process. We can take feedback. We are also continuously monitoring the learning process of the learner through the assessment process. So we need to understand what are the various ways in which the content delivery mechanism can become very interesting for the learner, even if it's an e-content. It could be a complete courseware that can be delivered, and you can just have a discussion sessions in the classroom. So the learner is basically the center. It's totally student centric, and at the same time there is a continuous facilitation and continuous support to the learner. This really helps. It is a wonderful way to bring a novelty in the teaching learning process. How are the other ways, or what are the other aspects like social media tools? We are all aware that students today are very active on social media. whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. It is for us to design our teaching learning process or have a discussion on the Facebook or Twitter or YouTube of and so as to enable teaching which is effective. There are other digital platforms which helps the learner with a lot of information and the information that's emerging in daily research. It could be ResearchGate, academia, where not only the faculty, the students can be exposed to. Resources to support the teaching learning could be presentation of certain programs, YouTube, storyboard. These are very common, which I will be discussing a little in today's presentation. When we move on to the next, when we integrate technology, it's important that we understand how do we integrate technology into our teaching learning process. This format or the model of integration into the TPAC, techno-pedagogical content knowledge, was given by Dr. Rubin. As you can see, a Venn diagram representing the three distinctive aspects of the SAMR model. You have the pedagogical knowledge, the content knowledge, and the technological knowledge. There should be strengthening of all the three aspects as we teach. The pedagogical knowledge can be blended with the content knowledge with a simple classroom transaction, what's happening. But when we add the third dimension of technological knowledge and a very effective way of integrating it, it enhances the learning outcome. It, in fact, takes the learning out from lower order thinking to a higher order thinking process. When we understand the revised Bloom's taxonomy, it's important for us to teach, learn, or basically facilitate learners or facilitate in the learning process from the just knowledge, understanding to a higher domain of application, analysis, synthesis. And in fact, when you talk about the revised Bloom's taxonomy, it's creation of knowledge and creation of aspects. So the SAMR model actually helps us in understanding this integration in a very effective way. In fact, there are two aspects to it. One is just enhancement, another is transformation. We generally have, say for example, we want to teach a certain concept. We substitute our content with a simple video or a PPT, which actually enables the learner to understand the concept. But it is at only an enhancement level. Augmentation is when the tech is used to direct or substitute with functional improvement. You could actually bring about certain functional improvement in what technological aspects you are using. We then move on to the transformation. When we are talking of the transformational model, it is modification and redefinition. Modification is the tech allows for a significant task design. And redefining is when tech allows for the creation if a new task or previously, which is actually was not possible, you can make use of. So technology, when we are talking of mostly, we generally tell we can use it again or we can use it a number of times. So we select a specific video and share it with our students. That's only enhancing their learning process. Let us try and understand how can this technology be a transformational process for the learner. When we move on to technology based, I have selected a few of the instructional strategies which can actually happen both inside your classroom and with the help of technology. I would like to understand how many of you, or what are the different ways you would teach in your classroom. There is a link given to you on your chat box. A link is shared in your chat box. Can you please click and respond to it? Rank the teaching methods in order of your preference. Can you please rank it? All of you can participate. Is it visible? Could you get the link, please? Let me know.
Yes, ma'am. It is on the chat window. We are able to access it.
Thank you. I'm sure you can see the results of your teaching learning process on the screen. Most of the faculty members have selected lecture method and experiential learning. Apart from this, there is inquiry method, case discussions, and project-based learning. Wonderful. It's really good to see that you are using a number of methods to teach. We'll try and understand how can we bring novelty into these methods of teaching. When we talk of brainstorming, it's one of the most important and a wonderful method to teach at higher education level. What exactly is brainstorming? It is a self-direction which actually keeps the focus of the learner. It's a small group discussion method, small group or an individual response. Is that what we are trying to understand? There are certain basic principles which actually govern the brainstorming as a pedagogical tool. We allow the learner to open up. We allow the learner to be spontaneous. The ideas matter and not the number. Each learner generally are given a number of responses. There is no limit for responses, and each member can actually respond a number of times as the ideas generate. Now, there is a number of aspects which come together and thus giving us a direction of thought. It is basically an important aspect when we are doing any method for that matter. Any method of teaching, we start off with brainstorming. It could be to understand how the learner, or what is the previous knowledge of the learner, or how the learner thinks with respect to that concept. Now, as we move on, we will try and understand how a brainstorming is done. For example, now when we are trying to do a brainstorming, it could be in two different ways. We could take into consideration the Edward de Bono's six hat theory, or we can have the fishbone method. Now, what exactly is Edward de Bono's six hat thinking? We know that there are all different hats that was given by the thinking process. Say white, which thinks about the facts, the data, the figures. The green, which actually indicates the creative growth or ideas. The yellow, the logical positive aspects. The red, the emotion, the touches, the feelings, the instincts. The black, the critic or the analyst. We have the blue, which actually sets in the agenda, decisions, global overview. Now these aspects have to go into a single concept, a concept which we are trying to understand. It enhances the creative capabilities of the students. Its effective use, in fact, churns all the aspects of the brain or all the domains of the brain. It, in fact, pushes the learner to find solutions for the problem. It involves the checking of the knowledge what they have and connect it to the knowledge. The faculty can very effectively connect the new knowledge to the knowledge which is already existing with the learner. Now, it can be done in different ways, but today I have taken an example of, say, cultural diversity. Now, the cultural diversity, when we are talking of the white hat, will have, say, for example, the different food habits, the difficulty, the background of the cultural background of the learner, or the different languages they speak in different areas. On the same line, when we move on to the red hat aspects, we have how the student is nervous, how they are feeling about the concept, what are the emerging fears and frustrations regarding the concept. Now, if we talk about the black hat, it's of the caution. So there is a lot of criticism which emerges. So when you divide your page or you divide your areas into all these aspects, whether it's white hat, red hat, or black hat, or the yellow hat, or green hat, or the blue hat, there are aspects which can be classified as the ideas generate in a group. Now, this aspect helps the learner or pushes the learner to actually think in a direction. And this can be thematically put forward and developed so as to enable to understand the multiple facets of a same problem. It's generally a very effective way of problem solving, starting a problem, starting a class. And this indicates that we take into consideration the learner and we have the learner at the center stage when teaching. When we are talking of the yellow hat, say, for example, can we have the identity, cultural identity? The green hat actually uses the statistics and other aspects, the logic, the statistics. It is how it can contribute to a specific problem. The blue hat actually indicates how the teaching can be what skills can be developed, how can you sense it. Now this has a different approach as compared to another approach, which is of the fishbone method. In the fishbone method, say for example, you have a specific problem and you give a worksheet of this order to the learner. The learner tries to identify or specify the primary causes of the problem. Say, for example, chronic absenteeism. I'm sure all of us are facing it. So I've taken a common problem to do this. Now, it could be the school climate. It could be the lack of connectedness. It could be the health of the student. It could be the family challenges. It could be academic issues. It could be negative student behavior. But these factors, the major factors or the primary factors, are contributed by certain secondary factors. So understanding of the secondary factors will actually help in sorting out the problem. There are a number of secondary factors. For example, if it's health of the student, it could be physical health, it could be mental health, it could be emotional health, or it can be substance use, which is a commonly emerging problem in today's. So what I'm trying to tell here is that this could be a wonderful way of teaching a learner how to go into the depth of the concept, churn out the ideas, and solve a problem. Now, when we think about the quality education, can we think about what could be the reasons for what could be the different reasons for diminishing quality of education in today's scenario? Can you please share in your chat box what are the different reasons for which the quality of education is continuously falling? Can you please? You can log into the same Mentimeter and write on the word cloud. You can respond on the word cloud. It's the same link. You can respond on the word cloud. Are you able to respond? What are the major drawbacks? What are the important factors that contribute to the quality education?
Ma'am, there's a difficulty in accessing the link. Ma'am, can you please share it again?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Are you able to access it, please?
Ma'am, I'm seeing the same options as for the last one, ma'am. It is asking rank the following teaching methods in order of your
Oh,
preference. I'm getting these
okay.
inquiry method and all.
Okay, okay. You're getting the same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Now? Are you able to get the new slide, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now
Thank
you
you.
can, now all the respondents can let me know what are the important factors that contribute to quality education. Yeah, you can as well respond in the chat box. You can as well respond in the chat box. Healthy student-teacher interaction, healthy boundaries. Fatima Sahar, thank you. That's wonderful. Constructive mentorship is a very important aspect. I understand. Any other responses? Yes. Holistic education, very relevant to life. Student connectivity, excellent. Knowledge acquisition, knowledge about the topic, yes. In-depth knowledge about the topic is another very important. Being tech savvy, okay. And yes, the zeal to learn, healthy relationship, excellent. So yes, we are in the right direction. It's for us to try and understand how we are actually going to have all these aspects in our teaching learning process to make it novel, new, and innovative. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Vocational skills, cordial relationships, creative, discipline. I think all aspects which I was looking for have been covered. That's very nice. Excellent. So moving on to my presentation again. So the in-depth understanding or problem-solving capabilities of the learner through brainstorming could actually lead to wonderful concept mapping, which is another strategy for effective delivery of content in the classrooms. Need not be classrooms. Concept mapping can be either in the beginning of your class with a brainstorming and then connecting all the concepts. What exactly are concepts? Concepts are interrelationship between the facts. So there are facts. We generally question regarding the facts because those are the experiences the learner bring to our classroom. Derive them as concepts and map them for a thorough understanding. Now we are trying, I have taken an illustration with concept mapping as writing of the research article for publication. I'm sure most of the faculty members are in the process of writing one or the other paper, right? How do we basically concept map the complete thing, right? When we are teaching in our classroom, we start off with the introduction. Say, for example, we have what exactly is a scientific research paper, what is a scientific journal, what can be published in a research as a research paper, what are journal articles, so on and so forth. I won't go into the depth of what exactly they are, but I would like you to focus on the mapping of the whole aspect. A session which could go on for 4 hours can be just done within 10 minutes with a concept map. And then allow the learner, actually it's the learner who develops these maps based on their idea or perception. It's only the faculty who identifies the missing links and put it together. Concept maps are the graphical representation of these different concepts put together with clear indication of their interrelationship. Of course, there are different types of concept maps. It could be a spider map, It could be, as you're saying, it could be a flow chart, it could be an hierarchical map, or a systems map. These concept maps can be used for actually not only understanding or mapping what is there already or the previous knowledge. It could be in the process of teaching to understand the conceptual understanding or conceptual outcome of the learner, or it could be at the assessment phase that we can use concept mapping. Now, when we look into this diagram, it was very interesting for me to see the diagram which is emerging concept maps in today's scenario. Is my slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Now we are trying to understand what is circular economy. Now, this is a concept map which is integrated or which is continuously evolving. We do not understand that these concept maps are continuously evolving with the nature of the concept. There are a number of aspects which actually contribute to it. Now, when we look into this, this is on circular economy. Now, can you see the complexity with which the circular economy is influenced with? And this is developed by the students, in fact, of the university after a thorough research. My question is, can our students really work in this direction and develop such maps in order to understand the scenario of the whole teaching learning process? For example, now when I'm talking of circular economy, it can be technology enabled circularity. It could be a new understanding of economy, which is contributed by other aspects. It could be a circular design, which includes the different factors. It could be a circular finance, which can be from different aspects. A business model, in fact, can be developed through this. A system perspective can be looked through this. So one concept map can, in fact, go through the complete chapter or a complete lesson without even coming into the classroom. There are so many aspects, and these are aspects which are growing and evolving. So our concept maps of flow charts or just the spider maps may not help. Now, in the emerging or the novelty or the new field, innovative field, this is one circular economic concept map which can actually clearly give an understanding of the economy and the economic factors which contribute to this economy. And what exactly are the various aspects? When a learner develops such type of a concept map, they get an in-depth study of the concept or the knowledge. That's what you are telling is required for a quality education. Let us try and understand another aspect. Like if we are to understand a concept map with economic progress. These maps seemed very interesting for me. It is from the World Economic Forum, which actually gives a clear understanding of the aspects. For example, we need to understand the concept of inflation. When we are talking about the economic progress, it could be an inclusive growth in the economy. It could be taking into consideration taxation and sustainable growth. It could be the major aspect could be productivity and competitiveness, economics of the fourth industrial revolution, or economics of environmental sustainability. Now, all these are governed by different factors. Now, when we can put together such concept maps, a thorough idea of the teaching learning process, or the thorough idea about the various concepts that govern a single concept, interrelationship between the different concepts, and a holistic perspective can be developed. So, concept maps are a great way to teach, and they are emerging as wonderful, innovative aspects or innovative ideas that actually facilitate higher order understanding of the subject, analysis and synthesis of the concepts, which can go a great way in teaching. I move on to another very innovative practice which is felt now. We have the concept maps, we have the ICT support. Then what are we to do in the classroom? Could be your question. Now we are moving on to flipped classrooms. Now I am trying to understand. We have the concept map developed by the learner. Where are we to use the concept map, and how are we as faculty or teachers to support the learner? Now, flipped classroom is an arrangement wherein the knowledge, understanding, and application, the lower aspects of the Bloom's taxonomy of learning, are completed at home, wherein the students could look into video lectures, they could look into or share their ideas, they can design concept maps, and then they come to the classroom well prepared. It could be case studies which they study, and they can come to the classroom. One of the faculty members did tell that we use case study for teaching. Exactly. Case studies are nothing but where you use a flipped model of classroom where the learner is well acquainted with the cases, and then after an analysis come to our classrooms or the institution. And in the institution, we facilitate discussions and push the learner to a higher order. That is, for example, they move in for to create something in the classroom, where the facilitator continuously support in creation of new domains of knowledge. Thus, this helps the student to not only understand the basics, it's a number of questions that emerge, a number of aspects, or an application that actually helps the learner to internalize the concepts completely. Flipped classroom is an emerging, innovative idea which can actually help the learner to reach higher order thinking, where they collaborate, not only collaborate, they actually have creative thinking, problem solving, critical thinking, all these aspects which are done in the classroom and under the support of the facilitator. This is a very important new idea to work with. Another very important aspect which I would like to touch is the gamification of the content or aspects. We all know, whether it's a student or whether it's the adult or whether they are in the higher education, every one of us enjoy games. We try to learn through games. Now, how is it possible to teach at higher education through gamification? Gamification is a wonderful way. It needs to be understood that when you're gamifying a content, you need to understand the mechanics of it, the measurement of it, the behavioral aspect of it, and what rewards of it. So, when we are trying to design a game, we need to think about the mechanics of it. It's a more of a storytelling process with a lot of visual cues and with the interactive objects. They need to reward a certain schedule. If you're doing it fast, it needs to be rewarded. There are boundaries to it. You cannot move out of the game. And the progression is to be marked. Feedback is an essential part as and reinforces the learner to move forward. So the mechanics of any gamifying any concept is through these aspects. Now, measurement, what do you measure? The performance, the reputation, the quality, the completion. If they have completed a task, if they have quantified the quantity they have completed, the time they have taken to complete, the meaning they have associated with, all these can be measured. What behavior is basically important here is the loyalty, the competency, the engagement, with what focus the learner is actually taking up a game. The competition, the cooperation, the synthesis, and the problem solving. Okay, now I would share with you a simple game in the chat box. Now, most of us think that gamification is not possible in higher education. When you try to open this link, which has been shared with you on the chat box, can anyone tell me what is the topic of the topic in the quiz? I'm sure all of you can do it. It's a simple game, and quizzes, Kahoot, all these are basically gamify the concepts. Yes, exactly. Yes, Jyoti, it's research methodology, right? And research methodology is taught at the university level, and we can gamify the content. This is in a very small way. There are different ways in which content can be gamified, and you can actually make the content very, very interesting. To gamify the content, you need to write the points, what are to be delivered. You can write the progress, what you're expecting. You need to have a leaderboard. You need to have a mystery box, which actually helps you to give out rewards. Then you have the social discovery, allow people to find each other. And then it needs to be time dependent rewards. You should have a social pressure. That means you are trying to actually complete the game faster. Social status, all for example, you're given a badge, you're given a trophy. All these actually help the learner, motivate the learner to go through it. Okay, so this is basically a very new way or emerging way of teaching. You could teach the classroom session, and at the end of the classroom session could actually share a link or gamify the content so as to understand, not only assess, you can also understand their conceptual internalizing. You have concepts like share, you have this share business, stock market, all these aspects. It becomes very difficult for the learner to understand. Now, when we try to gamify this content, it actually helps the learner. They can actually go through the process and and they understand the intricacies of these process. There are other concepts also which can be gamified. So gamification is a great way, not going into the details because it requires a lot of time to go into the details, but there are softwares available which can be used to gamify your content, which you can. Kahoot is one of the actually very interesting software which can help you to gamify the content. But to gamify a content, we need to write a digital storyboard. And what exactly is a digital storyboard? What are your point of view? What are the dramatic questions you want to ask? Do you have certain characters or personalities which you can incorporate into it? You have to create a script for it with a lot of emotional content in it. And then you have to understand what is the soundtrack to be given, how economic it is to do it, because when you are trying to gamify the content, all these aspects become very, very important. How you are pacing your voice, how you are gifting your voice into this digital storytelling. So these aspects can actually help you in designing your gamification. And where do we see these games? We are basically having our mobiles in hand. Therefore, mobile learning becomes very, very, very essential. That is, whatever you design needs to go into an ubiquitous mode, which means that it can be accessible to the Android and any other software. It needs to be collaborative. You can work together. Now, when you are actually responding to the Mentimeter, you were doing it collaboratively. It was interactive because you were looking at the results. It could be individualized as well. Now, you can blend the two of it when you're trying to use mobile in your classroom. You design a game, and then in between, as you're teaching, you can share the game to to actually break the monotony of the classroom, and then come back to the discussion forum after, or a discourse oriented teaching after the students have responded. Now this type of aspects will be possible only if it is portable, and you don't need a laptop or a computer to sit and do the whole thing. It could be possible only on your mobiles. This is how we do it in our classrooms. We actually share the link on Kahoot with a Kahoot for a quiz. Instead of asking a question, we give them a game to play, and they come back after doing their uh, assignment into the classroom. Come back in the sense they come back to the discourses or discussion after the assignment. Now this actually helps a lot. It actually is very innovative in presenting your concepts. Now, when we are talking of mobiles, can we have an augmented reality in education? Can we actually bring or enhance the complete real world situation into our classroom? Probably this will be our next generation, where we will be having immersive technologies which can actually play a very important role. The immersive technologies are just catching up. Augmented reality in other subjects, like in, for example, medical field, have gone a long way. But when we are talking of the social science subjects, they're still in the process of development. Augmented reality can be a great way because it is basically taking the learner to the real world situation, supported with text, sound effects, graphics, multimedia, so on and so forth. Artificial intelligence has already come into play. So this augmented reality may not be far away for our higher education or school education purposes. With all this, we need to understand one very important thing. Not all learners are at the same level. There are gifted learners, there are genius who are sitting in our class who actually catch the concept within a minute, or say the moment you are telling or the concept for the first time. Whereas it's not so with all the learners. They need your support. Therefore, we need to understand differentiated learning process. What do we understand by differentiated learning? It's a tailor-made learning. We tailor our teaching learning process according to the needs of the learner. At the same time, we need to understand the curriculum. Now, since we are saying that they are not all learners are not the same, all learners do not have the same direction of interest in the curriculum. Some learners may feel one of the topics very interesting, whereas they are not in the other topics. So how do we basically cater to the needs of the learner? Okay, now this basically is understanding the learner and tailoring the learning needs, tailoring our teaching learning process, tailoring our instructional design according to the learner requirement. That is what is differentiated learning. It has several strategies and approaches to it, where we actually classify our curriculum into level 1, level 2, and level 3. The school education, it's almost done. But with national education policy in higher education as well, it's being done because it's open. Now you have the learner selects any subject where they are interested in. This could probably solve a lot of problems because the learner identifies or selects the subjects which they are interested in. At the same time, there could be learners who fall short of, are unable to cope with the speed of the delivery of the lessons or delivery of the content in the classroom. Now, how do we help them? We have aspects like remedial teaching and individualized teaching, programmed instructions, which can help the learner to make way through reaching our learning goals. But at the same time, not to pressurize the learner too much, we need to classify our content at the content level, at the process level, at the product level. The first aspect is we cannot have the same learning goals for all the learners. All the learners may not reach the same learning goals. So classify the learning outcome at 3 different levels. That is where we begin with when we are writing an instructional design. Content. There could be the most important content which you are teaching. But at the same time, you can classify the content at 3 levels. The content, you need to understand that the content, the in-depth content can be taken over by a student who is really interested in that specific topic. It need not be forced on all the learners or cause a stress to all the learners. The process of delivery needs to be multifaceted. You need to give them handouts, you need to give them videos, we need to actually support them with a lot of material, lot of hands-on experience. We know that the learner may learn through hands-on experience, they may be visual learners, So we can support them with visual aids. If they are auditory learners, give them links to audiobooks so that they can listen to it again and again. It could be videos, audios, it could be written material. So supporting the learner in all different ways can actually help the learner to progress and then reach the outcome as well. So the need assessment is an important task which we need to do, and the curriculum and access to the curriculum to that specific need is very, very important. Now that is what is a differentiated learning process. Very close to differentiated learning process is adaptive teaching. What exactly do we understand by adaptive teaching? Now, adaptive teaching can be done through guided learning, action learning, or experiential learning. But guided learning, action learning, and experiential learning are three different aspects. If guided learning is deliberate, it is deliberated. That means the faculty designs the learning outcome, the faculty designs the instructional design, and the faculty identifies the strategies to teach and achieve the learning outcome. It is guided learning. Whereas with action learning, the student themselves design the process of learning. It is self-regulatory, self-planned, self-timed. We give them time to learn, and optimum level or the maximum levels of learning are achieved through action learning. But the best of all adaptive teaching is experiential learning. What we have observed in our B.Ed curriculum, or what we have observed in our experiences, when the learner goes or learner is in the internship programs, the learning is maximum. So it's context driven. The context basically helps the learner to actually internalize the concepts. To whatever extent theoretical input you give or the faculty gives, the context becomes very, very important. The theoretical input may not be effective in a new context. So that's the reason why experiential learning becomes very, very important. Experiential learning through, say, for example, simple concepts of budgeting. Now, say, for example, you have budget sessions. The critical analysis of the budget sessions are done. How did it impact the market? We don't bother to do. How will it impact the market? How is it going to be in the context? We don't bother, or we don't reach to that extent. So that's why the learning process is somewhere confined to the theoretical aspects rather than practical application. Moreover, it really creates a lot of student interest where they discover in teams, and peer-to-peer learning becomes very effective in experiential learning when they are in a teamwork. There are ideas emerging which they actually do. So when we are talking of all these different types, I would like you to tell me, how will you basically rank these innovative processes? How would you rank according to your preference? I have spoken about flipped learning, I have spoken about gamification, brainstorming, experiential learning, ICT based. The same link what was given in your chat box. You want me to share the link again?
No, ma'am, I'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please rank? Excellent. Brainstorming is the first, experiential learning second, third flipped learning, gamification, ICT based. Oh, ICT based has moved to fourth. Great. I want all of you to rank the approaches according to your preference. Okay. I understand ICT is encompassing, all encompassing, so therefore probably great. So still brainstorming and experiential learning takes the predominant position, right? Flipped learning is something, right, new. Yes. So we have in the first position brainstorming. Of course, concept mapping and brainstorming go hand in glove. And then we have the experiential learning. Excellent. And then the ICT based gamification and flipped learning. Right. Wonderful. Probably this is because we know that brainstorming can really help the learner to think, push the learner to think in a great way. Experiential learning is somewhere where the learner need not memorize, they learn to apply, they learn to internalize the concept. ICT base is all encompassing. Even if you're asking your students to make a PPT, they learn, they go through the content and they are doing it. ICT is just not PPT. Yeah, they can be making videos, they can be making PPTs, they can be making anything for that matter. It's nowadays there are so many free softwares that could really help the learner. Gamification, I understand, is slightly difficult, and it is just taking its roots, which is which needs to be done in a great way, because I think if the students don't come to the classroom, we need to gamify the content so that they play at least. We have the flipped learning. That's a great way to teach. In fact, it's a wonderful way, though it's in the fifth position. I feel we have really, when we have used flipped learning, there were excellent results in flipped learning as well. I understand that you have mastered the whole all the different evolving strategies or innovative as ways of teaching, and implementing in the classroom is the second aspect. But then it is important that we work towards implementing it. it wouldn't be right if I do not speak about the next aspect, that is eco-pedagogy. This is an emerging field where we are talking of, all of us are basically realizing that we need to be sustainable. Anything done for that matter, industrialization, whether it is business, whether it is education, whether it is any other aspect, it's all leading to sustainability. Without sustenance, there is no looking forward. And that's the reason why we have began to work on these few pedagogies, emerging pedagogies. That's one of them is eco-pedagogy. Now, eco-pedagogy is basically you construct the learning process in a science or a social environment which is compatible with ecological issues. I will give you how to go about doing it. And the pedagogy involved in this is basically inquiry based, a problem based, or a project based. We need to give the learner inquiry based, problem based, or project based. So as to understand these aspects. Now, for example, now I would like to give you a simple example of, say, ban on plastics, because plastics cannot, the problem here is plastics are non-degradable. So how do I teach the concept of advertising or advertisement with the concept of plastic? Right? I asked my students to take up an inquiry into the process. How can we replace plastics as they learn the concept of advertisements? In the sense, now, how many of the products in the market are coming in plastics, and how it can be replaced, right? So there is a problem. The problem is the use of plastics, and my concept is there. Now I am trying to integrate my concept, or making it compatible with an ecological issue. So the learner moves into an inquiry mode, trying to solve the problem. It could as well be as a project, trying to make something or alternative solution for it. Now that becomes an eco-pedagogy. Okay, so how does this eco-pedagogy works? Is basically the learners learn in teams. They are divided into teams. Each team identifies an ecological issue in their environment or surrounding. And then they brainstorm the problem to understand what are their limits. Once it is designed, they try to gather information. And once the information is gathered, they try to find a solution of an ecological issue existing in their vicinity. And that, in the process of finding a solution, they will learn the content of what exactly you wanted to teach. So we need, as faculty, we need to be very creative in basically having this pedagogical process. The learning base is, it's based on the environmental education. I know you may tell that it is environmental education. Environmental education is touching upon all the environmental issues, but not finding a solution for the environmental issues. Here, they have to only identify one ecological or environmental issue, ecological issue in their vicinity, and try and implement the solution for it. Now, this is integrated with cognitive, attitude, awareness, care, behavior. All these domains are touched upon in their learning process. So they touch the affective domain of the learner. They are The learner is motivated to do something for the environment. Okay, well, they as well learn a critical aspect of ecological issue. Now, say for example, the learner is talking about making a paper bag. Now, the learner should as well support that paper bag is degradable and paper bag can replace it. Now, there will be criticism that it is not as strong as the plastic ones. So, how do we actually come up with solutions, and how do we internalize a pro ecological attitude is what is eco pedagogy. The learning outcome is basically a very strong touch on the affective and the cognitive domain. Okay, and as well, you're having certain features to it. The important aspect is that do they have any prior knowledge of it? Are there any cultural aspects to it? Are there any beliefs to it? What is the pedagogical context of learning? I can give you another example. Like, for example, the students can take up the cleaning of the tank bund, which is in their vicinity, or any water body in their vicinity. Now, the learner has no prior knowledge or what cultural aspects or beliefs are associated with it. Now, can the learner find a solution in the process, learn their concept, or it becomes compatible with their concepts? Now, say, for example, what is the economic benefit of protecting the environment? To what extent the environment can be protected? There was a Wangsuk from Ladakh actually yesterday is on a 5-day unshan, or what you call it as hunger strike, saying that if the ecology of Ladakh is completely industrialized or there's too many people, then it could cause a great harm to the continent of Asia, because the water that flows from the Gangotri can actually be sudden. So there could be flash floods, and there would be no water which can substantiate in the next months or the summer months of the year. Now, understanding the whole ecological process requires the context, because it requires the culture, the belief system, the economics of the area, everything. Now, the question or the criticism arises that can we leave Ladakh without development? So, it's for us to understand that eco-pedagogy gives us direction to think in a right way. Moving on to another very interesting emerging pedagogy is entrepreneurial pedagogy. What is this? Is how we actually bring about this change in attitude of the learner. The mindset, the thinking process is to be actually understood in this type of a pedagogy. Here, you will observe that the lower order cognitive skills are the conventional education process. The higher order cognitive skills are quality education. But what we need to go to is beyond that, and that is venturing skills, or beyond the RBT or the Revised Bloom's taxonomy. We are in the process of experimenting with this entrepreneurial pedagogy. And it's amazing how it is actually impacting the learner. We are trying to develop a complete aspect in relation to the entrepreneurial pedagogy, wherein the mindset of the learner or the attitude of the learner is changed and towards independent understanding of the concepts and independent livelihood in the future. Now, in this, basically, the process as given by Professor Verghese in his book is harvesting seed ideas. Then you have an entrepreneurial exercise. You have entrepreneurial learning event. Then you have an entrepreneurial teaching event. And then you have an entrepreneurial assessment. Now, this is based on a certain experiment that was carried out in Shillong, wherein the learners were actually taught the concept through the seed idea. The whole lesson or the whole topic can be summarized into one single seed, which seed idea, which can actually generate a number of ideas. Now, as they generate the ideas, their perceptions changes. What are their perceptions? What are the different types of perceptions that emerge from this? What are the different types of thinking that emerge from this? And then move on to the creative aspect of creating it, making the object, prototyping it, allowing the object to validate, see whether it works or not, and then making a complete workable solution for a problem or a workable solution for an object. Now, this is what is being tried out in many parts of our country today, the entrepreneurial pedagogy. It's a very vast aspect, because understanding of the generation of the seed idea, the generation of the perspective towards the seed idea, the different thinking process, the polychromatic thinking process associated with the seed idea can actually lead the learner to a thinker who is critically thinking, collaboratively thinking, and then generate into an object which can be marketed, in fact the object which can be made and marketed, patented, in fact. So we are looking for something like that, but it's in only a preliminary stages where we are trying to find out way out of it, how it can be applied to all fields of education, and that can help us actually create next generation entrepreneurs, rather than just working or trying for government jobs and confining to job oriented skills. We are trying to build in on these aspects. Now, these are the two aspects which is still in the process of experimentation: the eco pedagogy and the entrepreneurial pedagogy. Now, with this, I will wind up the session. Wind up in the sense the session will be open for any question answers, which I will be glad to take up and understand to what extent you feel or you require more inputs if necessary. Uh, Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. The forum is open. You can. Do I stop sharing, or there are any queries regarding the slides, specific slides? Then I can move on to that slide, or I will stop sharing and take your questions.
Ma'am, we have a question from John, sir. Shall I read it out for you? It's in the
It's
chat.
on the chat box here.
Yes, ma'am.
Like the above mentioned things, Bloom's taxonomy, rubrics, etc., was suggested and implemented. These are by teachers, administration. Can we open up the line? I'm not able to understand his question. Can Bloom's taxonomy, rubrics, etc., were suggested and implemented. Implementing these by the teachers' administration was tough on a regular basis, right? Okay, I got the question. Yes, when we design rubrics and when we are designing the assessment strategies, it is generally the rubrics based assessment. And that's a good question. In fact, why was it that it was not continued? That's because most of the teacher faculty were not very sure of how do we go about designing rubrics. Having rubrics with lower order and higher order thinking, and when you're designing a rubric, what is the criteria based on which the rubric can be developed at different levels of learning. And it's actually very important that we understand the it is a group work, and after we have done the group work, it needs to be validated as well. Unless until we develop it and validate it, it is not possible to implement it effectively. That's the main reason why it couldn't continue. Yes, training in this session, these type of areas are very important, right? Bloom's taxonomy and thorough understanding of Bloom's taxonomy will help you understand even the outcome-based education, the 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 mandatory aspect of national education policy, that we are supposed to implement the outcome-based education. It's very important that we understand Bloom's taxonomy and the revised Bloom's taxonomy. That's the first step towards outcome-based education. Of course, we need to understand not only the course outcome, designing of the course outcome, and the attainment levels, and obviously the rubrics as well. I think I answered the question. Yes, there's a question from Reena. In English, LSRW skills, we try to create our rubrics, but when it comes to implementing on the students, we are not able to track the individual progress, right? Okay, probably I think that is the word, that track the individual progress. Yes, I understand. That's once you implement outcome based education, it will be very easy for you to track individual progress as well when you are using the rubrics. And the rubrics based assessment should actually lead us to a very effective way of neutralizing any differences in the assessment process. So rubrics is mandatory. Designing an effective rubrics is mandatory, and implementation is also mandatory, for which the design process, whoever has designed it, should actually take session to explain every rubrics, every part of the rubrics, okay, at every level that is expected. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. We have John sir again asking on the chat box.
Innovative technologies is the core issue for management, as it is costly. I understand that it is costly, but of late we are having a number of things which are free of cost, and isn't it? Now, say for example, Google Meet, Google Site, and our students actually do all their work on Google Site and Google Classroom. We are having assessments based on Google Classrooms. So there are certain free as well, and per student cost actually is not as much as we think of. It is affordable actually, And I think as time moves on, things will become more affordable in the near future. Yes, augmented reality and other aspects may be slightly time taking. It is not in the immediate future, but I think the other aspects can as well be brought into the classroom. And we need to find alternative solutions even without the technology and make things innovative. And we are creative enough to do as well, that as well. I think I did answer. If every management decide to go ahead, the value is. Yeah, parent faculty relation is a very important aspect. The third question, the other question was parents should be able to make the students understand the importance of education rather than think we have done our duty by joining them in an educational institution. Okay, I agree with the fact that there should be a and parent responsibility as well. But I feel in higher education, the student responsibility and self responsibility of the learning process actually is at the on the prioritizing basis or on the first stand. And the parents, of course, can oversee the whole thing, but parents cannot take complete responsibility. They can support their students. And I'm sure parents are supporting their students unconditionally, so there's no problem about it. Most of the parents are taking care. It's only the if we can make the students the owner of their teaching a learning process, I think that can help the learner to shift the focus. How can we balance? How can a balance be achieved between parent and educational institution? More interaction between the parents and the educational institution is a very important aspect. It's not to complain. Again, I emphasize on the point that we should not complain to the parents regarding their ward. That is not what we are trying to tell. How together we can actually support the ward. What are the areas we can chalk out? What are the areas in which the learner requires support, and how the parents can contribute to that support is what we need to look for. So it will be wonderful if we actually collaborate with the parents for a very strong support system to be created in the institution for the students.
Ma'am, we have a question from YouTube Live.
Yeah.
Pratima Bhatt is asking, how is Bloom's taxonomy important in NEP?
Yeah. Bloom's taxonomy basically it was way back in 1968 that it was given, but then in 2001 Bloom's taxonomy was revised, and Bloom's taxonomy very clearly has the three aspects into the cognitive developmental process, that is the lower order and the higher order thinking processes. Most of our national education policy emphasizes on application based, and the learner needs to move into higher order thinking process with creative thinking, critical thinking, collaborative thinking, teamwork, community engagement programs. All this is possible when we design our courses based on higher order thinking skills. That is, say, for example, analysis and analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and so on and so forth. So a clear understanding of Bloom's taxonomy can help the learner to understand that it's as simple as a clear understanding of the Bloom's taxonomy by the faculty will enable you to See whether your learner is reaching that higher order thinking or not. And as say for example, you're designing some activity in the classroom, and the thought process is, will I be reaching the thinking process or higher order thinking? Will my learner be doing analyzing, synthesizing, or creating something in the classroom? Unless we reach that level of creative thinking, we are not achieving a mastery of the subject. So, a faculty needs to thoroughly understand the Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive development in both the dimension, so as to enable them to frame questions for assessment, frame questions for classroom, frame learning experiences, and not only that, assess the learner throughout the process of learning. So Bloom's taxonomy becomes the basis for the complete teaching process. A clear understanding can help the learner and the faculty as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question myself. Uh, I teach statistics for management for MBA first year students, and I keep juggling between teaching them the concepts and keeping up with the syllabus completion. So finally, I give into evaluation because the students have to prepare for Usmania end exams. So I focus more on solving problems than helping them apply the concepts. So that how can I you know create a balance between these two things?
Exactly. Now, I think teaching of statistics through exponential learning is a wonderful way. You actually need, most of the time, we are focused on statistics. If we are to teach, say, for example, descriptive statistics, we are doing percentage and simple mean, median, mode, all these aspects. Do we need to teach the learner or make them do the problem in the classroom, is my question. Instead, give them an experiential learning process, like going into the field, inquiring and finding out and finding the percentage. They will by themselves learn the descriptive statistics. We are not required to teach them descriptive statistics at all. And moving on to say inferential statistics, you're teaching all the different aspects, like you have the t-test, ANOVA, ANOCOVA, all these aspects, the model, whatever you want to teach is basically formula oriented, right? But they don't know where they are applying. Am I correct? So when they come back with an experience of doing the descriptive statistics, when they are back to the say they have about 1 hour time or 2 hours time to just collect the data and come back, all these data can be classified, and then we can actually tell them how they can find a difference. They will come up with problem if there are more than one or two variables. How do we do it? Okay, then we move on to what are the two variables. If there are more than that variables, how are we basically finding the differences? So statistics is something very close to experience. So it's good to teach statistics through experience rather than teaching them in the four walls of the classroom. I think I clarified. Did
Yes,
I?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so.
That's how we do it. We actually allow the learners to go to the schools and complete their data collection, and after they are back, then we ask them what exactly can be done. We do not give them all ready made things. We actually allow them to construct their own knowledge. Constructivism is another very effective way of allowing them to learn. Give them enough, facilitate them enough with material, facilitate enough with everything, but do not solve the problem for them. They will never learn if we solve the problem for them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions, queries? The session is open. Anyone can ask any question.
Yes, if you have any questions, dear participants, please post your questions in the chat box. We have also posted the feedback form for today's session. It will be open for 10 minutes. Please fill it. Thank you. Ma'am, we have another uh, question from John, sir.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
Shall I read it out, ma'am?
Yes, you can read it. No problem.
Parent teachers coordination, and sir has given 3 pointers. First one is their job timings may match to attend parent teacher meet. Second one is they don't know actually their child has a different behavior in the college and at home they are calm. And third one is parents are less aware of technology and students take advantage of this. So
Yeah. I agree to all the 3 questions and statement. Yes, there are problems which actually with the timings. Now, I think the only way is having a parent teacher meet on a specific holiday, general holiday. That is what we do in our college. We have a parent teacher meet either on the second Saturday, or a start a survey. We actually do a survey to find out what are the timings which are most suited for the parents, and then most of the parents give us a specific time, and we take a survey. So that's one thing. Second is the second question is they don't have children behave in different environment differently. Yes. It's very important that we understand the reason for why they are behaving differently. It could be because of a number of reasons which actually disturbs the learner. It could be because of their psychological disturbances which is caused, or it could be because of any other aspects like home environment and the institutional environment as well. So it's for us to pinpoint specifically what exactly is the reason for the behavior of the learner. Study the behavior of the learner, and then we actually take action. It's good to have a face-to-face contact, and I feel that mentoring system is one of the best way. And how to go about mentoring, what are the mentoring system which is in place in the institution, how the mentor meets are being organized is one way of actually minimizing this type of behavior in the classroom. Mentoring and meeting, there is a complete guidelines book given by UGC, which actually we can follow. It's a wonderful book which is guiding us how to conduct mentor meetings, and how the mentors can uh, help the learners in improvement. That is the answer to this B bit of it. C, parents are less aware of technology. No doubt, it is. Less awareness is a very common problem, but that doesn't actually hamper the learning of the students, right? That will not actually come into or create a challenge for the students. The students actually feel wonderful when they are told that you know much of technology, you can teach us. So they should be, it should be turned around and told that they should be teaching their parents all the technology. That's one way of making them feel very important at home. And obviously that could help in building the relation between the parent and child. So that is the question C. There's another question from Dr. Sucharita. Yes, what could be the creative seating arrangement? Right now, what has been observed is seating arrangement. The way we were following the contemporary one with all in a line is not really helping in peer-to-peer interaction, which they enjoy and they learn better. So it's very important that we have different type of seating arrangement, and maybe we can have a complete conference model one day, and another day we have just 4 to 5 small group sessions. We can have small group sessions, we can have large group sessions, and the physical dimension of the classroom plays a very important role. Physical arrangement and the dimensions play very important role when you're teaching. That it depends again on the concept. What type of a concept are we teaching? If the learner is basically giving seminar presentations, the arrangement could be different. If you are having small group activities, the arrangement could be different. And if we are having activities to be made, something to be made, it requires a lot of space. I feel there should be no chairs, and the students should all be sitting down and doing their activities. And it's a wonderful experience of the students. They enjoy doing it. They will enjoy, they don't feel the constraints of the classroom then. So please change the traditional forms of seating and make the classroom very creative. Say, for example, I want to teach through eco-pedagogy. I have all the pots in my classroom. I ask the students themselves to bring and arrange the classroom. They are very happy about it. I think I answered your question, Dr. Sucharita. How can we buy or get access to mentoring book prescribed by UGC? Yes, the mentoring book is freely available online. You can just type UGC Blue Book for mentoring. You will get the complete details of how the mentoring process should take place in any institution. It's available freely online. Any other question?
No, ma'am. We don't have any more questions now.
Okay.
We'll wind up the session, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we then wind up?
Yes, ma'am. Before ending the session, I would like to propose my vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to thank God Almighty for all that we have today. I extend my gratitude to the resource person, Ruma ma'am. It has been a great experience. Ma'am has given us insight into the trends of pedagogy and how to impart higher education. The circular concept mapping is something that helped my attention, and I felt this will help students grasp complicated issues. I think I will try it out sometime. And your views on gamification, flipped classrooms, adaptive learning, and how to guide students through, lots and hots on using differential learning and this new concept, entrepreneurial pedagogy. That is something very new. I heard it for the first time, and I'm sure the participants will also like it, and they might also got few ideas of how to impart education and may have learned ways to impart education in their respective streams of teaching. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank the participants and their respective institutions for providing the required support to attend this faculty enhancement program. I would also like to thank our principal, Sister Emi Gracie Vas, for extending support in all the ways, making this FEP possible. I would like to thank Professor Y. Sucharita, the Chief Coordinator of this Faculty Enhancement Program, for motivating and coordinating all our efforts. Finally, I'm very thankful to the organizing team for their constant support. It has been a great help, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
పిచ్చిగా మాట్లాడాను సార్.